Why is it that your mind is full of potential? Dreams of starting a business, becoming a freelancer, writing a book, traveling the world. Yet every night still ends the same way, scrolling through short videos until late, telling yourself, tomorrow I'll start. Why is it that suddenly you're 27, 28, even 32, and your life still feels stuck in preparation mode? You're waiting for the money to come together, waiting for inspiration to arrive, waiting until you finally feel completely ready, waiting for the perfect moment that never seems to come. And when you look at people your age, some have already started companies, some have built families and bought homes, some are steadily climbing their careers. You quietly comfort yourself with the same thought: I'm just a late bloomer. I have enormous potential. One day I'll surprise everyone. If these thoughts feel uncomfortably familiar, then today's conversation is not about procrastination, and it isn't about time management tricks. What we're going to uncover instead is a deeper and far more unsettling psychological trap. Why so many people would rather remain inside the safe bubble of infinite potential than take the frightening step into a real life, a life with gains and losses, risks and responsibilities. When you're young, it's very easy to believe something comforting. The world is enormous, and you have endless paths to choose from. You could become a designer, an entrepreneur, a photographer, a musician. You could pack your suitcase tomorrow and move to Berlin, Tokyo, or Bali and begin an entirely different life. In the years after graduation, many people fall into the same strange cycle. Today you try one job. Tomorrow you move to another city. The next year, you leave a relationship and start again to find yourself. Each time you reassure yourself, this is just temporary. My real life hasn't started yet, but psychology has a brutal name for this pattern. It's called the paradox of choice. The more options you have, the harder it becomes to choose, because choosing one path means killing all the others. What you lose isn't just an opportunity, you lose all the other possible versions of yourself. So you discover the cleverest form of escape. You don't choose. You remain forever at the crossroads, telling yourself you're still exploring, telling yourself there's still time. The poet Sylvia Plath once described this feeling with a haunting metaphor. Imagine a fig tree, its branches heavy with ripe fruit, each fig representing a different life. You stand beneath the tree, hungry, yet unable to pick one, because the moment you choose a single fig, all the others begin to rot and fall away. And so you remain there, hungry, afraid of losing what you never actually had. You stay forever beneath the tree, forever the boy with infinite potential who has never truly taken a single bite of life. When you were young, you probably heard these words many times. You're very talented. You're going to do great things someday. At the time, those words felt like the warmest form of encouragement, but psychology reveals a harsher truth. People who are labeled as gifted too early often become the most stuck in adulthood. Psychologist Carol Dweck calls this a fixed mindset. Once you believe that ability is something innate and fixed, failure no longer means I haven't learned it yet. Instead, it becomes evidence that maybe I'm not actually that special, and that possibility is terrifying. So you begin to fear any moment that might expose that you are not good enough. The most hidden form of protection is simply never truly starting. You start saying things like, I could write a book. If I really tried, I could definitely start a successful business. In the future, you remain the person who could have been great without ever having to face awkward beginnings, painful failures, or the long climb of real progress. Many people reach 30 still saying, I haven't even started yet. Not because they are lazy, but because they are afraid that once they truly begin, the final illusion will shatter. Potential becomes the gentlest kind of poison. It makes you feel special while quietly keeping you exactly where you are. When the potential stage lasts too long, life slowly settles into a repeating cycle. During the day, you scroll through your phone, play games, watch shows until morning. At night, you drink with friends, talk about ideas, talk about how next year everything will change. But the next day, nothing actually changes. Psychology sometimes describes this state of living between imagination and reality as the Neverland effect. Like Peter Pan's island, a place with no responsibility, no aging, and no consequences. Only endless adventure. But the cost in real life is much higher. Entertainment, temporary relationships, and endless plans fill your days just enough to create the illusion that you are living. You dream about adventure, but you never raise the sail. Because leaving the island means facing adulthood, responsibility, aging, and failure. The things Peter Pan feared the most. The real turning point in life rarely arrives as a dramatic revelation. More often, it appears on a very ordinary night. You scroll through social media and see someone celebrating a promotion, someone else posting photos with their child on vacation, someone buying their second home. And suddenly, you realize something unsettling. All those future plans you've talked about for 5 years, maybe even 10, haven't moved at all. They're still sitting there, like a faded sticky note from another version of yourself. In that moment, you finally see something clearly. Potential does not turn into reality on its own. Life does not shape itself simply because you are talented. It only begins to take form when you make choices and carry the responsibility that comes with them. Carl Jung called this process individuation. It is not about becoming perfect or extraordinary. It is about slowly assembling the real version of yourself, your abilities, your limitations, your fears, and your ordinary humanity. Maturity is not romantic. It does not look impressive. It looks like waking up on time, taking the subway to work, handling endless small problems that never seem to end, learning to apologize and compromise in relationships, paying rent on time, saving money, and facing the reality of aging. From the outside, this life may look almost painfully ordinary. There is no heroic spotlight, no applause from the crowd. But it is precisely in these days that feel repetitive, sometimes even dull, that a real life is slowly built. This is when you finally step out of the fantasy of Neverland and enter a world with weight, with warmth, with gains and losses. You begin to understand something important. Growing up is not about becoming more impressive. It is about accepting that most of life is made up of ordinary days. Days that repeat, days that feel slow, days that sometimes feel boring. And yet, these are the days that shape you. They do not shine, but they are reliable. They are not perfect, but they are yours. Perhaps one day, you slowly realize one of the simplest and most uncomfortable truths about life. Many people remain stuck in the same place, not because they lack ability, not because they lack opportunity, and not because they lack talent, but because they are always waiting. Waiting for a better moment, waiting until they have enough money before quitting their job, waiting for inspiration before they start creating, waiting until they finally feel completely ready, waiting for some external voice to tell them, now it's time, you can begin. But reality never hands out permission slips. No one will knock on your door and say, hey, you're ready to grow up now. And no one else will carry the consequences of the choices you make. The existential psychotherapist Irvin Yalom once said something that sends a chill down your spine. True freedom often begins with an uneasy awakening, the realization that you are fully responsible for your own life. There is no savior, no magic solution, only you. And in that moment, you may feel afraid. You may even feel a strange emptiness, because the bubble of infinite possibilities has finally burst. You are no longer the boy with limitless potential. You are simply an ordinary adult who must live with the choices you make. But it is also in that very moment that life finally begins, not with explosive success, but with a quiet decision. A simple one. I will stop waiting. I will step forward now, even if the path is ordinary, even if it carries regret, even if it might hurt me, at least it will be my path. This is Felix. May you find your freedom in every uneasy awakening. May you no longer fear growing up, but instead learn to walk, bravely, gently, step by step, into your own life. See you next time.